Night. A girl is walking home and suddenly she hears footsteps and cracks. Then a black ghost appears behind her. When she decided to turn around to look, it started to burn, and suddenly the girl with it disappears. Over the past few days, several supernatural occurrences have been reported in the city. Last night was no exception to the mystical events. A woman was attacked by an unknown creature in her path. A girl named Lu Xiaoyu is walking with a kettle and her older brother comes up to her and says, "My strength is gone, again you cannot leave medicine alone, not so hungry. Just a sip, I'll just take a sip," she said. "No?" Quickly went and apologized to Auntie Lin's scandal boy. She said she was too hungry to move, but he pulled her along. He gave her carrots, but she didn't want to eat them and said she didn't want to look like a dried carrot. "Then what do you want?" he asked. "I want cooked noodles. Normally we can't afford them, but we can make an exception during the new year, right? Just for once." "Dreaming," he replied. The girl started screaming and said, "You don't have to buy me noodles, but in return break your little walnut." "How many times have I told you, it's not a walnut? I've been wearing it since I was in the orphanage, so no," said he. She started biting him and he said he would only buy her to let go. She said she wanted beef flavored. She came home and her grandmother made them a meal and told her to wait for her brother and eat it together. She decided to give him 3 more balls of meat. It was very cold outside and she didn't understand why he was still gone. He was in town looking at fireworks. He wanted to give real fireworks to his sister. Then a very violent squeal starts and the guy gets hit by a car, so he flies very far away. And then his nut starts cracking and shining very brightly. Along with it, the guy starts glowing too. The phone flies off and crashes. Her sister texted her, but it's unlikely he'll reply. Lu Shu was the protagonist of this story. His story hasn't started yet. But this new year, he died. The driver of the van that hit him didn't understand what lousy luck. It's New Year's Eve, don't tell me someone died. Guy got all bloody and started getting up. Said you were in big trouble. The driver screamed, "Ghost!" and started running. The guy started telling him to run away only after he made it up to him. Why the hell didn't he die? And he didn't even feel any pain. He came home covered in blood and said that he had hit a car. The driver was okay, but his vehicle was gone. His sister asked him if we had enough money to pay the driver. He replied that he had paid with the money he was saving to go to the festival. She didn't believe him and he said he was just kidding. Someone had an accident and he was just helping out. The guy went to wash his face, but something was wrong. He didn't even have a scratch on him. And then the screen started coming out of his hand. And he realized it wasn't that simple. And it looks like he's got a superpower. He had a superpower that automatically created money. He wanted to save money to pay his sister's school fees. He looked up the source of the income and it said that the income was from people's negative emotions. He didn't understand what the points were. Intimidation and bullying could turn into negative emotion points. He shouted for them to appear and said he wanted money, but he understood that the points can only be used in the system. There was a wheel of fortune he spun. He only wrote, "Thank you for participating." And then the metamorphosis fruit was added to his inventory and he took the fruit out. He thought it might kill him, but he ventured out and ate it. And then he got really hot. So he realized that metamorphic meant that it would outlast his body and meridians. The glasses seemed to be as good as money. As Ego was called by his sister to eat, he decided to leave it for later and went to her. He was eating and said it was delicious, but his sister said, "Your skills are much better than mine." "No problem, you can cook next time too," he said, and got a negative income of 299. He had a good income thanks to her, but no need to keep bullying her. "How about making a snowman after we're done with the noodles?" said he. She agreed, but said, "If you change your mind you can buy me 2 lollipops at the festival." "Okay," he replied, but warns her not to ask him how good her snowman is. "You dare not say it's not beautiful," she shouted. They went to make snowmen and after making them, my brother says they remind him of us. He teased her again and got 199 of negative emotion. Suddenly, a flame pops up on their roof and a girl shows up. They ran away. The guy was sitting on his phone and her sister thought he was flirting with a girl, but he was sitting on chat roulette. He was there teasing everyone and getting negative income for it. His sister didn't understand what was wrong with him. He was acting weird, maybe you got a cold and you were sick. But he told her to go to her room or she wouldn't go to the festival tomorrow. And got the proceeds of his emotions. After a few chat messages, he could finally try his luck again. And then he got something incomprehensible. He didn't understand what it was. There was a text he began to read. Suddenly everything began to shine, the night sky appeared above him. Shooting stars created a galaxy in his body. This starlight could increase his power. He didn't understand what had happened and went to his sister to ask if she had seen anything. She said she had only heard him singing. He realized that only he could see the star map. These stars must be one of the training techniques. The next day they went to a festival and his sister told him that he sang very well yesterday and that she rewarded him with a lollipop for it. He said she had overheard him and abruptly changed the subject. There was an actor who ran the fire. And he asked the guy, "You awakened too?" Suddenly, the boy had a strange feeling in his chest. As his sister was small, she could not see anything, so he took her backstage. There they saw a battle of magic. The guy who was controlling the fire was stunned and told to take him away. The sister shouted why he was captured and they heard it. They said that the man had not been authorized to perform a fire show. He violated fire safety protocols. "We're taking him in for investigation." The guy said safety first and they left, but in his heart he knew the fire department wouldn't do that. The guy didn't understand where the men in black could have come from. Could it be that the awakened were being taken away for study? He was lucky they didn't pay attention to him. Next time he should be careful not to be exposed. "Are these people different from us?" the sister asked, but he replied that they should be. Suddenly a guy comes up to meet them. He asked what was behind the scenes and that he wasn't a bad guy. When they got home he thought about this man who approached them. He didn't understand who he was. Maybe he had superpowers too. Who could be in the business of studying such things? One should be more careful up ahead. So he decided to read on the internet about the festival. He saw a picture of the people in black who had been there since the beginning. Apparently they were after a guy playing with fire. His sister asked him, "Did they have another class meeting without you?" He said he didn't have the money to go with them and that's why they didn't invite him. She said that she was so kind and generous and only she would play with you. "Go to bed," he said. And she went to sleep. He wrote a message to the group that teased them and he got points for it. He also got 1 point for a guy who came up to them. This guy at this point suddenly got cold feet. And he started acting up. Thanks to the points he had recently received, he had enough of the star fruit, so he decided to buy one. He could feel the energy inside it. Since it said it was a fruit he thought it was something healthy and edible. So he ate it. Suddenly the first and second star in his galaxy lit up. He began to feel power. His body had never been in such good shape before. He hit the ground with all his might. But he was in great pain. His sister woke up and asked what had just happened. He said it was his head hitting the wall. Then they heard someone falling from the sky. They looked out the window and they couldn't believe their eyes. There was the same guy who was running the fire. They went to him. And they realized he was pretending to be unconscious. He had to be one of those super people they talked about on the news. But the fact that he's lying there pretending to be unconscious means, he suggested we get him away from our station or we won't be able to explain to him why he's here when he wakes up. He's got a lot of negative emotion points here. The nurse offered to give him some water. But he replied that it takes too long to boil, so we'll feed him snow. "Since when did people become so inhuman?" said the guy on the ground. "Can you help me ask him when he woke up?" He was shouted, "No. You should not move." For that he got even more emotion points. "Then first let me go," he said. "No. You should rest," said to him. The profits from the negative emotions flowed like a river. And then the guy on the ground starts releasing fire from his hands. But his sister stopped him when she shouted to let him go. And got a really big score. "Are you done playing around?" he asked. "Hero, please let me go," said the guy on the ground. He was let go and told to come play again. He replied that he thought a family that makes snowmen is full of good people. How blind I was. And ran away. Suddenly the very men in black appeared on their roof. "I knew it," the boy said. He ran away from them. But he didn't notice any injuries on him, so why was he so weak? Was that fire show his doing? Had he overexerted himself? His sister told him to stay away from superhumans next time. "If it wasn't for me, you'd be burned." He said he didn't have to worry about it. And decided to reveal the secret that he, too, was an awakened superhuman. She couldn't believe it, so she told him to show her the flames. But he said he had eggs to sell tomorrow, so they went to bed. The next day he went to school. On his way home, when he was selling eggs on the internet, he saw the news that a fire had broken out in a shopping center. It also reported that the fire had been burning all night. According to preliminary reports, the fire was caused by careless handling of flammable materials. And that's where he saw some sort of organization. All the once forgotten superpowers videos could now be viewed here. This site also divides all awakened into levels. Rank F, stronger than ordinary people. Rank E, possesses supernatural powers. Rank D, can dodge bullets. Rank C, can defend against bullets. Rank D, borrowing power from heaven and earth. Rank A, one with heaven and earth. They wanted to make information about the awakened public. They also have a message board with videos and publications. His classmates come up to him and ask what he's watching. The organization's website? "You want to wake up too?" They laughed at him. "Even if you watch these videos, you are wasting your time. Just give up, people like you are not destined to be awakened," they said. A very pretty girl who was the head beauty of the school came up to them and wanted to buy eggs from him. While doing so, he saw that she was also an awakened one. He thought that she had exposed him, although it didn't look like it. The number of awakened is increasing. He should evolve faster. So he started getting angry emotion points on his classmates. He was a straight A student and they had a test. Everyone wanted to cheat off him, but at the end, he closed all the answers. And the teacher told him not to cheat. And then the kid showed his magic. And everyone knew he was awakened, too. But all of a sudden, the class got really angry and said that he was awakened and didn't need these tests. It doesn't even make sense for him to be afraid of the teachers. And as soon as he wanted to hit him, the guy Lou raised his hand and started saying that if you try to do something, you'll have to face the law. "I'm 17 years old, I'm a minor, even if I beat him up I won't go to jail." But he started saying that according to the criminal code, anyone who commits a particularly serious crime will be fully responsible for it from the age of 14. And from the age of 16 you are fully responsible for yourself. And he began to tell us about a lot of other laws. And added that he would advise you to read more in your spare time in the future. My classmates didn't understand what was wrong with this guy. For that he received a lot of income for his negative emotions. The boy pushed the teacher away and picked up the desk and wanted to throw it at him. But he replied that you will make up for the school property you spoiled. Many students ran to this class. They wanted to see who had awakened. Although they were told by the teachers to go back or they would be punished, they didn't want to go back. Suddenly, strange people come to the school. The boy recognized these clothes. The same clothes were worn by the men in black that day. They came in and grabbed the boy who woke up. He started screaming for them to let him go. He didn't understand who they were, he couldn't get away. They took him with them. No one understood who they were or why they were so strong. There's talk on the internet that a new era has begun. A return of spiritual energy. Suddenly the school speakers started saying that everyone would have to take a blood test now. and told everyone to stay in their classrooms. The boy didn't understand why it all happened so suddenly. He had a bad feeling. After eating the metamorphosis fruit, his body had become noticeably stronger than before, and because of this test he could be exposed. He realized that no matter how he looked, it was still the same people in black who had put on white coats. He had to find a way to get out of here. He said he had a stomachache and had to go to the bathroom. "You want to go to the bathroom? Then we'll start with you." He wanted to pretend he was unconscious, but the girl next to him passed out first because she was afraid of the injections. But even when she was unconscious, they took a blood test. What kind of blood test is it that requires a blood test even if a person is unconscious? They grabbed his arm and took his blood. Li Chi came back. He was told to return to his seat. He said thank you for helping him during his awakening. He heard that they were going to create a Dao class in the city, so that all the talented students will study in one place, and this class will be created in our school. A blood test determines whether you have potential. It's been talked about all over the internet. Isn't it necessary to gather all the awakened in one place and use them? It looks like they've officially acknowledged the existence of the awakened. Then was he supposed to be in this class? The boy didn't know. He got home and wanted to tell his sister that he'd bought her something, but she couldn't be heard. He went into her room and saw that she was lying down and feeling very sick. He asked her what was wrong. He took her temperature and saw that she had a very high temperature. She said she was washing his clothes and the water was a little cold. She needed antipyretics right away, but they didn't have any. So he thought he could give her the metamorphosis fruit and she could get back into shape and even improve her abilities. He started spinning the wheel and within a few tries he got the very fruit. He gave it to his sister to eat. Before she even had a chance to taste it and it had already dissolved, she didn't understand what it was. Just as he thought it helped her. She asked him where he got the fruit. "Are you awake?" "I'm not sure if it counts, but I'm much stronger now and not what I used to be." The guy asked if she wanted to be awakened. She said she did. The brother replied that he would find a way. If one star fruit could provide him with star power for 15 days, then the metamorphosis will be able to increase the effect of his training for 9 days. Only if he uses the metamorphosis fruit to increase his body potential will he be able to speed up his training. Now the starlight he was gathering even faster. He must strengthen his sister to prepare her for awakening. And he decided to get emotion points from his classmates. Next day at school. Today was the day they were going to announce the list of students entering the DAO class. Times are changing and studies were not that important. A very beautiful girl walks into the class. Everyone was very surprised by her. Our city decided to form a DAO class in our school to gather all the talented students and provide them with everything they needed to study. And that was their new class teacher. All the names he would read out had to stand up to meet the new leader. "Lu Shu." "Lu Shu, stand up," said the teacher for the second time. He stood up and said he had just helped his classmates make sure their ears were okay. He got a lot of emotion points for that. Those who were supposed to be in that class had to go to regular classes. And at 7 p.m. they would come to the DAO class. That was the end of it. The girl left. He teased the classmates in the group conversation and got more points for it. "The road to revival will be paved with bricks on which your names will be engraved," he thought. The teacher said that because the TAO class was organized in our school, new exchange students would come to us. A girl comes in who everyone really likes. She looked closely and said she wanted to sit next to the guy. Even though there was already a girl sitting next to him, she angrily gave way to her. The girl introduced herself. Her name was Jiang Shu, and she was a guy. Everyone was very surprised that it was a guy. The guy he sat down to also introduced himself. All the talented students came to the class in the evening. There were cushions. It looked like they were really going to be taught how to use FAO. The leader gave each of them a document to sign and leave a thumbprint on it. It was a non-disclosure agreement. No one could say anything about this class to the others. If there were violations, the signatory would be court-martialed. The leaked information was in the possession of the military. Does that mean this class is assisting the military in training the army? The supervisor asked if anyone knew why this class was taken. To learn how to use DAO, answered the class. Then do you know how we chose you? She asked them. No one knew. Has anyone heard of sodium kalium alloy? Okay, let's start with an easy one. What is sodium? Let this student answer. He said that sodium is the mythical celestial pathway. He got a lot of emotion points for that. Sit down, the teacher replied. Sodium is a chemical element. But we discovered that it could be used in other ways. To assess the blood's response to potential. Normally it is silver in color, but as soon as the sodium-potassium alloy is exposed to the blood of people who have this potential, it changes color to black. The greater the potency, the darker the alloy. They divide the potential into 6 levels. A, B, C, D, E and F. Of course, potential does not equate to a successful future. Learning will require willpower in any case. If they are too difficult for someone, they can quit. There was a lot of competition in this class that you never had in your training. The potential level will now be read out by the headmistress. Level A was missing. Lu Li level B, Lu Shu level F. They took his blood before he ate the metamorphosis fruit, so it wasn't his final potential. And that was a good thing, as the people in black would be less likely to watch him. A student asked if there was anyone at the school with an A level. The headmistress replied that there was only one, and it was the same girl. The boy was very surprised.